Ambassador Elena Chen stood tall as she entered the massive council chamber for what would be her final time. The circular hall stretched hundreds of meters across, with rising tiers of seats filled with representatives from over 300 alien species. Giant holographic displays floated above the center platform where she now walked, her footsteps echoing in the unusual silence. The council sessions were rarely quiet. Today was different. Word had spread about humanity's intention. Elena wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's emblem, a stylized globe with olive branches. Behind her walked 5 other human delegates, their faces showing a mix of determination and sadness. They had fought for 20 years within these chambers. Today, that fight would end. Ambassador Chen of Earth announced the chamber's AI in multiple languages simultaneously. You have requested special address to the full council. The arbiter of the council, Zexcaltha, gazed down from the highest seat. His species, the Meraki, lived for nearly 1,000 years, and he had seen many civilizations join the council. None had ever voluntarily left. The representative from Earth may speak, he said, his 4 eyes blinking slowly in sequence. His tone carried the boredom of someone who had seen everything. Elena took a deep breath and activated the chamber's amplification field. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice now reaching every corner of the vast chamber. For 73 years, humanity has held membership in this ancient institution. We arrived with hope, with dreams of learning from older civilizations and contributing our unique perspectives to galactic governance. She paused, looking around at the alien faces. Some showed interest, others indifference. The Varaxians, with their gray-scaled skin and narrow eyes, watched with obvious contempt. Today, I officially announce Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Not of shock. Everyone knew this was coming, but of dismissal. You have called us brash, impulsive, and dangerous, Elena continued, her voice growing stronger. Our solutions to the Rigelian plague were rejected as too experimental, though they would have saved millions. Our defense strategies against the Thrax's pirates were voted down as unnecessarily aggressive, while outer colonies continued to suffer attacks. On the middle tier, the Thelicoid representative clicked its mandibles in what humans had learned was their expression of amusement. Humanity has provided this council with innovations in medicine, transportation, and communication. Our engineers have maintained your quantum network for 15 years while receiving minimal credit. Our military has protected trade routes that benefit everyone in this chamber. Elena placed both hands on the podium, leaning forward slightly. Today, we leave. You to your measured consensus and careful deliberation. Humanity will forge its own path among the stars. She stepped back from the podium. Protocol demanded that the council arbiter respond. Zexcaltha raised one long-fingered hand. The council acknowledges Earth's decision, though we find it regrettable. Your species has always struggled with patience. Perhaps in another century, when you have matured, you will request readmission. Several species laughed in their various ways. Elena did not respond to the insult. As per withdrawal procedures, all human personnel must vacate council facilities within 30 standard days. All technology sharing agreements will terminate. Earth will retain basic trading rights, but loses voting privileges and military protection. Elena nodded once. We understand the terms. Our evacuation has already begun. She turned without further ceremony and walked toward the exit, her delegation following. As the massive doors began to close behind them, she heard Zexcaltha addressing the chamber. Let us proceed to the next matter of actual importance. The doors sealed shut with a deep thud. In the private chamber reserved for Earth's delegation, Elena found her assistant waiting anxiously. It's done, she told him, removing her formal diplomatic collar. Send the signal. Her assistant nodded and spoke into his communication device. Operation Independence is now active. Repeat, Operation Independence is active. Elena sat down heavily in a chair, suddenly looking tired. How long before they noticed the first problems? The quantum network has redundancies, her assistant explained, but without our maintenance protocols, maybe 6 hours before the first glitches appear. And they won't connect it to our departure? No. We've been careful. They think their own technicians fully understand the systems. They never bothered to learn what our people actually did. Elena nodded slowly. Not our problem anymore. 200,000 kilometers from Earth, General Maya Santos stood on the observation deck of the lunar military headquarters. Through the massive window, she could see the blue marble of Earth, their home. But her attention was focused on the holographic display showing hundreds of small lights moving away from Council space. All ships reporting successful withdrawal, her second-in-command reported. The Council hasn't even noticed yet. Maya watched the lights, each representing a human vessel, moving into formation. For decades, these ships had protected Council worlds, responded to emergencies, transported supplies to disaster areas. What's the status of the colonists? She asked. 97% evacuated from Council territories. The remaining 3% have chosen to stay, accepting Council citizenship. Maya nodded. They had planned this for years, quietly and thoroughly. Nothing had been left to chance. A young officer approached with a datapad. General, we're receiving the first reports. The communications network is already showing strain. 2 emergency responses have been delayed in the Orion sector. Not our concern anymore, Maya said, though her face showed no pleasure at the news. The Council wanted us humble and obedient. They limited our expansion, restricted our research, and ignored our warnings. She turned to face her officers, all standing at attention. They'll soon learn what they've lost. Not because we'll attack or sabotage, we're better than that. They'll learn because all the work we quietly did, all the systems we maintained, all the problems we solved while they debated, that all stops today. Through the window, distant flashes of light marked human ships jumping to faster than light speed, heading toward unclaimed territories where humanity would build something new. The Council thinks this is about pride, Maya said quietly. They're wrong. It's about potential. Ours. And we're done letting them hold us back. On her display, a countdown timer reached 0. Humanity had left the building. 3 weeks after humanity's departure, the first major crisis struck the Galactic Council. Council member Traslor rushed into the emergency session, his blue skin flushed to a deeper shade with stress. As representative of the Centauri systems, he carried terrible news. The Rigelian plague has returned, he announced to the half-filled chamber. Many representatives were still struggling to arrive due to unexpected transportation delays. Arbiter Zexkaltha raised all 4 of his hands for silence. Impossible. The plague was contained centuries ago. Nevertheless, it has appeared on station. K-12, Traslor insisted. Our medical teams report 17 confirmed cases already. The chamber erupted in panicked conversations. The Rigelian plague was one of the deadliest diseases in known space, capable of infecting most carbon-based life forms. Why was I not informed immediately? Demanded Zexkaltha. A junior communications officer stepped forward nervously. Arbiter, we've been experiencing difficulties with the quantum network. The alert was delayed by 7 hours. 7 hours? The Arbiter's voice rose to a dangerous pitch. Find the cause and fix it immediately. In the chamber's medical section, Dr. Zandril was already frantically searching through the archives. As the Council's chief epidemiologist, he had studied disease outbreaks for over 50 years, but had never personally dealt with the Rigelian plague. Access complete containment procedures for Rigelian plague strain 7B, he commanded the computer system. The system responded with unusual slowness. Searching. File found. Warning. File incomplete. Key protocols missing. Dr. Zandril blinked his large eyes in confusion. Impossible. Display what is available. As he read through the protocols, he felt growing unease. The procedures were outdated and lacked the detailed response patterns he expected. Buried in the file notes, he found a small reference. For complete current procedures, consult Human Medical Division, Earth Sector. Computer, he ordered, connect me to the Human Medical Division. After a long pause, the system responded. Error. Human Medical Division no longer accessible in Council networks. Dr. Zandril suddenly remembered. The humans had left. With growing dread, he searched deeper into the archives, finding file after file with similar references to human departments. How had he never noticed their involvement before? He finally found what he was looking for, a hidden administrative log showing crisis response statistics. The humans had been quietly handling 73% of all emergency medical responses across Council space for the past 15 years. The senior Council members had deliberately kept this quiet, finding human methods unorthodox and alarmingly efficient. Dr. Zandril rushed back to the main chamber. Arbiter, we have a serious problem. Meanwhile, on the edges of what had once been human-patrolled space, Captain Vazak of the Thraxis Collective smiled as he watched the small trading vessel attempt to flee. His smile revealed rows of sharp teeth, perfectly evolved for a predatory species. They have no escort, his first officer reported with glee. It will be an easy capture. Vazak nodded. For years, the Thraxis had been forced to limit their raids because of human military patrols. The Council had criticized these patrols as unnecessarily aggressive, but they had kept the shipping lanes safe. Now those patrols were gone, and no Council replacement had appeared. Disable their engines, Vazak ordered. I want the cargo intact. Within minutes, the trading vessel was crippled and drifting. Vazak opened a communication channel. This is Captain Vazak of the Thraxis Collective. Your ship is now our property. Surrender and you will not be harmed. The terrified alien face that appeared on the screen belonged to a Meraki merchant. Please, I am transporting medical supplies to the Centauri systems. They're fighting a plague outbreak. Vazak's smile widened. Then they will pay an excellent price for these supplies, won't they? Prepare to be boarded. As his crew moved to capture the vessel, Vazak studied the star chart showing nearby systems. Already word was spreading through the criminal networks. The humans were gone and the Council was struggling to maintain order. It was the perfect time for the Thraxis Collective to expand their territory. After we secure this ship, he told his first officer, set course for the Rigel trading post. I suspect we'll find more easy targets there. In the newly established Human Alliance headquarters on Earth's moon, Ambassador Elena Chen, now Minister of External Affairs, reviewed the daily reports with a heavy heart. Another request from the Council, her assistant noted, placing a datapad before her. They're asking for consultation assistance with the quantum network. Elena sighed. Not a direct request for help, I notice, just consultation. They're also reporting a Rigelian plague outbreak in the Centauri systems. It's spreading faster than expected. Elena closed her eyes briefly. The humans had developed new containment procedures years ago, but the Council had insisted on reviewing them for 5 years before implementation. The review was still ongoing when humanity left, and there are reports of increased Thraxis activity along the old patrol routes, her assistant added. 3 merchant vessels captured in the past week. Elena gathered the reports and headed to the main conference room where the Human Alliance government was meeting. Representatives from Earth and all human colonies sat around a large table, discussing their new independence. Minister Chen greeted Prime Minister Okonkwo as she entered. How goes the transition? The Council is beginning to feel our absence, Elena replied, distributing the reports. We've received 7 requests for technical assistance in 3 days. Are they apologizing? Asked Defense Minister Santos, formerly General Santos of Lunar Command. No, Elena said simply. Just asking for technical support, no acknowledgement of their past treatment of us. Prime Minister Okonkwo reviewed the reports quickly. The plague outbreak is concerning. There will be significant loss of life. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. They had left the Council, but they had not wanted suffering to follow. We could offer medical assistance, suggested the Health Minister, on humanitarian grounds. Defense Minister Santos shook her head. If we rush back at the first crisis, nothing will change. The Council needs to understand that our help comes with respect. Elena looked around the table at her colleagues. We need to vote. Do we respond to these council requests? Prime Minister Okonkwo called for order. All in favor of providing assistance at this time? A few hands rose. All opposed? The majority raised their hands. Then it's decided, Okonkwo declared. The Human Alliance declines all requests for assistance until the Council is ready for a true partnership. As the meeting adjourned, Elena remained seated, staring at the reports. In just 3 weeks, small cracks had appeared in the Council's operations. Soon those cracks would become chasms. We didn't want this, she whispered to herself. But maybe it's the only way they'll learn. Outside the conference room window, Earth glowed blue and beautiful against the blackness of space, a reminder of what they were protecting by standing their ground. 6 months after humanity's departure, the Grand Council chamber was only half full. Many representatives attended via hologram, their flickering blue images seated in chairs that would normally hold their physical bodies. Fuel shortages have made interstellar travel increasingly difficult, explained Councillor Traslor to the Assembly. The automated logistics systems that managed fuel distribution are failing. No one seems able to fix them. Council Arbiter Zex Kaltha looked noticeably different. His normally smooth gray skin had developed wrinkles and his 4 eyes seemed duller. The stress of the past 6 months had taken its toll. We face multiple crises, the Arbiter announced. The Rigelian plague has spread to 12 worlds. The Thraxis Collective has seized control of 3 minor trading posts. Our communication network operates at only 60% efficiency. And now, fuel shortages threaten to isolate entire systems. The chamber was silent. Every species represented had suffered in some way since humanity's departure. I propose a formal diplomatic outreach to the Human Alliance, Zexakaltha continued. We must establish new relations with humanity. In private chambers before this session, he had carefully explained to senior council members, not an apology, simply a strategic realignment of diplomatic relations. The hologram of the Varaxian ambassador flickered as he rose to speak. Ambassador Krelvax was known for his hatred of humans and their primitive emotional responses. The humans abandoned their duties to the galactic community, Krelvax hissed. They do not deserve diplomatic outreach. He paused, his scaled face showing what passed for a smile in his species. I propose an alternative solution. The Council should form a special task force to acquire human technology by any means necessary. Their innovations are the property of all advanced civilizations. Murmurs spread through the chamber. A year ago, such a suggestion would have been immediately rejected. Today, several representatives nodded in agreement. You propose theft? Asked Traslor, sounding shocked. I propose survival, Krelvax replied coldly. The humans have technical knowledge vital to the stability of Council space. If they will not share it willingly, we must take action. The Arbiter called for a vote. To his surprise and dismay, the motion passed with a slim majority. Operation Reclamation was born. Meanwhile, humanity flourished in isolation. Without Council restrictions, human innovation accelerated at an unprecedented rate. In a vast underground laboratory on Mars, engineer Darius Kim stood before the Alliance Science Council, presenting his latest achievement. The quantum fold drive is ready for full testing, he explained, pointing to the holographic display showing the new engine design. It creates a controlled fold in space-time, allowing travel at speeds 50 times faster than current technology. Prime Minister Okonkwo studied the technical specifications with interest. The Council would never have approved this research. They would have called it destabilizing to established trade patterns. Their loss, our gain, Darius replied with a shrug. We've already installed prototype drives on 3 explorer vessels. The expansion teams have identified 17 new, habitable systems beyond Council space. Defense Minister Santos nodded approvingly. How long before we can outfit the entire fleet? 6 months for military vessels. Another year for civilian ships, Darius said. Without Council bureaucracy, we can move quickly. In the 6 months since leaving the Council, humanity had established thriving colonies in several unclaimed star systems. Each colony was designed to be self-sufficient, with advanced hydroponic farms, manufacturing facilities, and defense systems. Minister, Chen entered the meeting room, her face serious. I've just received intelligence from our sources still living in Council space. The Council has authorized a covert operation to infiltrate our territory and extract our technology. The room fell silent. They're calling it Operation Reclamation, she continued. The Voraxians are leading the effort. So much for the Council's moral superiority, Santos said with a bitter laugh. Their first instinct is to steal rather than negotiate. Prime Minister Okonkwo considered the information carefully. Increase security at all research facilities and colonies. Deploy the new bioscanners at all entry points to human space. Bioscanners were another recent innovation. Security systems specifically calibrated to identify non-human biological signatures. Originally designed for medical research, they now served a more defensive purpose. Should we issue a formal warning to the Council? Asked Chen. No, Okonkwo decided. Let them try. When we catch them, we'll send a stronger message than any diplomatic note could deliver. 3 weeks later, a Voraxian stealth vessel approached the outer edges of human space. On board were 12 elite agents, each selected for their skills in infiltration and technical knowledge. Remember the mission, Commander Vexistor told his team. Locate and extract human transportation algorithms, medical protocols, and, if possible, samples of their new propulsion technology. The ship's cloaking system was the best in Council space. No sensor should be able to detect them. Approaching the research outpost on Ganymede, reported the pilot. No signs of detection. Commander Vexistor smiled. Begin landing sequence. Maintained. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. The control panels flashed red. We're being scanned, the pilot shouted. Some kind of targeted energy beam. Outside the ship, a squadron of human vessels appeared, surrounding them completely. Attention, Voraxian vessel, came a calm human voice over their communication system. You have entered human alliance space without authorization. Your cloaking technology has been detected by our security grid. Power down your systems immediately. Commander Vexistor stared in disbelief. How did they detect us? This is impossible, the human voice continued. We are aware of Operation Reclamation. Your mission has failed. You have 30 seconds to comply before we disable your vessel. With no choice, Vextor ordered the ship to power down. Within minutes, human security forces boarded and took the Voraxian team into custody. Back on Earth, Prime Minister Okonkwo and his cabinet watched the recorded images of the Voraxian team being escorted to comfortable but secure quarters in the lunar facility. They expected us to be primitive in our security measures, Minister Santos observed, just as they always underestimated us. What do we do with them? Asked Chen. They are technically agents of a government we have no formal relations with. Okonkwo thought for a moment. Treat them well. Give them medical care, good food, and comfortable accommodations. Then, in exactly 1 week, put them on one of our fastest ships and send them home. Send them home? Santos looked surprised. With what message? Okonkwo smiled. No message in words. The fact that we caught them so easily sends its own message, and returning them unharmed on a ship demonstrating our advanced technology, well, that will give the Council something to think about. Chen nodded in agreement. We'll include a simple note. Next time, just ask nicely. As the ministers left the meeting, Chen remained behind with Okonkwo. The Council's desperation is growing faster than we anticipated, she said quietly. They're falling apart without our support. Good, Okonkwo replied firmly. Let them understand exactly what they lost when they pushed us away. When they're ready to treat us as equals, we'll listen. But not before. Outside the window of the Prime Minister's office, construction crews worked on expanding Earth's orbital platforms. Humanity was building a future of its own design, free from the Council's limitations. For the first time in generations, they answered to no one but themselves. 1 year had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. The Human Alliance had established thriving colonies and systems beyond Council space, while the council continued to struggle with failing systems and increasing disorder. Then something new appeared from the darkness beyond known space. On the distant council world of Proxima Theta, Observatory Director Velnar noticed it first. Strange gravitational readings unlike anything in scientific records. The instruments must be malfunctioning, insisted his assistant. All of them, simultaneously? Velnar shook his head, his green skin paling with worry. Something is out there. Something big. He sent an urgent message to the council through the still unreliable communication network. 3 days later, much too late, the message arrived. By then, Proxima Theta was gone, not damaged, not attacked, simply gone, as if it had never existed. Over 2 million residents vanished without trace. In the council emergency chamber, representatives gathered in a state of panic. What could destroy an entire planet without warning? Demanded Trazalor. Scientists and military leaders had no answers. Until a junior researcher spoke up. It's not destruction in the conventional sense, she explained, her voice trembling slightly. The planet still exists, but it's been shifted slightly out of our dimension. It's elsewhere. That's impossible, scoffed Krelvax of the Voraxians. The readings match theories about dimensional phasing, the researcher insisted. Something is manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. More reports flooded in over the next week. 3 more outer council worlds disappeared in the same manner. Each time, strange gravitational distortions preceded the event. Whatever it is, it's moving inward through council space, reported Admiral Kraz of the Thelicoid Fleet. We've named it the Void Convergence. The council dispatched its most powerful warships to confront the threat. They never returned. Admiral Kraz reviewed the final transmissions from his lost ships, his insectoid features showing rare emotion. Our weapons had no effect, he told the council grimly. The Void Convergence exists partially outside normal space-time. Our targeting systems couldn't lock onto it properly. He paused, mandibles clicking in distress. I need to speak a difficult truth, he continued. Our military tactics have relied on human strategic innovations for generations. Without them, we're fighting with outdated methods against an enemy we don't understand. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Finally, Admiral Kraz said what many were thinking, but none wanted to admit. We need the humans. In human space, Captain Layla Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the HMS Defiance, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Her dark skin contrasted with her white uniform as she studied the unusual readings on her command console. Analysis confirms it, Captain, reported her science officer. The gravitational distortions match the pattern of dimensional shifting. Something is pushing through the barriers between realities. Captain Okonkwo frowned. Location? Currently, near the Proxima Centauri system, the officer replied, moving at a steady pace. If it maintains course and speed, it will reach Earth in approximately 18 months. Proxima Centauri, once home to one of humanity's first colonies before it was placed under council jurisdiction during a territorial dispute. Though no longer under human control, thousands of humans still lived there. Send all data to Alliance. Command, Okonkwo ordered, and set course for Proxima Centauri, maximum speed. Her first officer looked concerned. Captain, that's now council territory. We don't have authorization to— I'm aware, Okonkwo interrupted. But whatever this thing is, it's a threat to everyone. And there are still humans living in that system. Back on Earth, the Alliance leadership debated what to do about the mysterious Void Convergence. The Council has made no formal request for assistance, argued Minister Chen. This is their problem to solve. The Convergence doesn't care about political boundaries, countered Minister Santos. If the simulations are correct, it will reach our space eventually. Prime Minister Okonkwo reviewed the scientific data with a troubled expression. The question isn't whether we should act, but how, and whether we should coordinate with the Council. Many argue the Council deserves its fate, said one representative bluntly. They dismissed us for decades, Now they face a crisis they can't handle without us. Okonkwo looked up sharply. We left the council because they failed to respect us, not because we stopped caring about innocent lives. Before a decision could be reached, an urgent message arrived from Captain Okonkwo of the Defiance. Captain has taken independent action, Minister Santos reported, reading the message. She's en route to Proxima Centauri to deploy the experimental dimensional anchor system against the void convergence. Prime Minister Okonkwo, no relation to the captain, sighed. She's always been headstrong, but she's also one of our best. This could be seen as a hostile act by the council, warned Minister Chen, entering their territory without permission. Or it could save millions of lives, Santos replied. Including human lives still in that system, the Prime Minister made his decision. Send a message to Captain Okonkwo. Her actions are retroactively authorized, and prepare a diplomatic notification to the Council. Tell them we're deploying defensive measures against the void convergence near Proxima Centauri, not asking permission, simply informing them. The Defiance arrived at Proxima Centauri just as the gravitational distortions began to intensify. Captain Okonkwo ordered the ship to maintain position between the disturbance and the populated planets. Dimensional anchor system online, reported her chief engineer. But this is still experimental technology, Captain. No guarantees it will work. Noted, Okonkwo replied calmly. Begin deployment on my mark. The view screen showed nothing visible, but the sensors detected massive energy readings approaching. Whatever the void convergence was, it was almost upon them. Convergence will reach our position in 30 seconds, announced the science officer. Captain Okonkwo took a deep breath. Deploy dimensional anchors. From the underside of the Defiance, 4 satellite-like devices launched into space, forming a tetrahedral pattern. Each began emitting pulses of exotic particles designed to stabilize the fabric of space-time. Anchors active and functioning, reported the engineer. Suddenly, the empty space before them shifted. There was no other word for it. Reality itself seemed to bend and distort, revealing something that human eyes were never meant to see. A swirling mass of energy and matter that somehow existed between dimensions. Convergence is attempting to phase the system out of our reality, shouted the science officer over the sound of alarms. Anchor system is resisting, but power levels are dropping. Captain Okonkwo gripped the arms of her command chair. Divert all non-essential power to the anchors. Hold position. For several tense minutes, the Defiance shuddered as the dimensional anchors fought against the pull of the void convergence. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems strained beyond their design limits. Then, gradually, the swirling distortion began to recede. It's working, breathed the science officer in disbelief. The convergence is retreating. On the view screen, they watched as the dimensional distortion collapsed in on itself and vanished. For the first time since it had appeared, the void convergence had failed to claim its target. Damage report, Okonkwo ordered, allowing herself a small smile of relief. Anchor system is fried, reported the engineer. We won't be using it again without major repairs, but it worked, Captain. It actually worked. As the crew celebrated, a communication came through from a council vessel that had been observing from a distance. Human vessel, came the formal voice of a council commander. The council requests immediate consultation regarding your defensive technology. The void convergence has claimed 7 of our worlds. Your assistance is required. Captain Okonkwo exchanged glances with her officers. Then she responded simply. This is Captain Layla Okonkwo of the Human Alliance vessel Defiance. Please, inform the Council that we are willing to discuss cooperation, but only on equal terms. The days of taking orders from the Council are over. As she ended the transmission, she added quietly, send all data back to Earth. The Alliance leadership needs to prepare for what comes next. The battle against the void convergence had just begun, but one thing was already clear. The galactic power balance had shifted forever. The council chamber was unusually crowded as representatives from all species gathered to witness something unprecedented. Humans returning to the chamber, not as members, but as equals in negotiation. Minister Elena Chen led the human delegation, accompanied by Defense Minister Santos and several Alliance military and scientific advisors. They walked confidently to the central platform where a special conference table had been set up. Arbiter Zex Caltha rose to greet them, looking significantly older than when they had last met. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome the representatives of the Human Alliance. Elena nodded politely but did not smile. We are here to discuss cooperation against the Void Convergence, nothing more. The terms of the meeting had been negotiated for weeks. The Council had initially demanded that humanity simply provide their defensive technology and follow Council leadership. The Human Alliance had refused outright. The situation grows more desperate daily, Zex Caltha explained to the assembled representatives. 11 Council worlds have now been lost to the Void Convergence. Our weapons have no effect. Holographic displays showed the path of destruction, a steady progression through Council space, moving inexorably toward the core worlds. We have reviewed the data from the HMS Defiance's encounter, continued the Arbiter. The human dimensional anchor technology successfully repelled the convergence. No Council technology has managed even to slow it down. Elena Chen stood to address the chamber. The Human Alliance is prepared to assist in defending against this threat, but we have conditions. She displayed her own hologram showing the proposed terms. First, complete autonomy for all human operations. Our ships, our command structure. Second, formal acknowledgement of human sovereignty and independence. Third, restructuring of Council voting procedures to prevent the systematic dismissal of newer species. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked outraged, others resigned. Krelvax of the Viraxians rose in protest. These demands are excessive. The humans abandoned their responsibilities and now they exploit our crisis to force concessions. Minister Santos replied calmly, We didn't create this crisis, but we may be the only ones who can solve it. These aren't demands. They're prerequisites for effective cooperation. Admiral Kraz of the Thelicoid Fleet spoke next. I support the human terms. My ships have faced the Void Convergence. We cannot defeat it alone. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. After hours of debate, the Council finally agreed to the human terms, not with enthusiasm, but with the reluctant acceptance of necessity. 2 days later, a joint command center was established on a neutral space station. General Maya Santos represented the Human Alliance, working alongside Admiral Kraz and other Council military leaders. The cooperation was tense at first. Council commanders resented taking suggestions from humans. Human officers were reluctant to share all their technological advances. In the research division, human scientists revealed they had been studying dimensional phenomena for decades. Work the Council had previously labeled recklessly dangerous and attempted to shut down. We detected micro-dimensional shifts near black holes years ago, explained Dr. Kim, the engineer who had developed the quantum fold drive. The Council ordered us to stop our research, so we continued in secret. He displayed models showing the nature of the Void Convergence. It's not a natural phenomenon. The energy patterns are too regular, too structured. Something is controlling these dimensional shifts. Admiral Kraz clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. You believe it's an entity? A life form? Or a collection of them, Dr. Kim suggested. We're calling it a convergence because it appears to be multiple dimensional anomalies acting with a single purpose. General Santos studied the projected path. Next target appears to be the Viraxian homeworld. The Viraxian representative present, Subcommander Vex, hissed in alarm. Our planetary defenses are the strongest in Council space, and completely useless against this threat, Santos replied bluntly. We need to deploy dimensional anchors around your world immediately. Vex bristled visibly. Under whose command? Humans? Unless you prefer your planet to disappear, Santos said, her patience wearing thin. 3 days later, a fleet of ships, both human and Council, arrived at the Viraxian homeworld. The Human Alliance had shared enough of their dimensional anchor technology to equip several Council vessels, though the most advanced versions remained exclusively on human ships. Captain Layla Okonkwo, now promoted and commanding a small squadron, oversaw the deployment of the defensive perimeter. "Anchors in position," she reported to General Santos. "We've created a dimensional stabilization field around the entire planet. Sensors detected the approach of the void convergence, massive, gravitational distortions moving toward the Viraxian system. All ships, battle positions," ordered Admiral Kraz. "Remember your training. Conventional weapons are secondary. Focus on maintaining the anchor network." The void convergence arrived with a spectacular distortion of space, like reality itself, was being torn open. Through the rift, strange energies pulsed and swirled. "It's larger than before," Captain Okonkwo noted with concern. "Much larger." The dimensional anchors activated, creating a shimmering field around the planet. The convergence pressed against this barrier, testing it. For several tense hours, the combined fleet worked to maintain the defensive field. Several anchors failed and had to be replaced. 2 council ships were lost when they ventured too close to the dimensional boundaries. Then, unexpectedly, the convergence shifted tactics. Instead of pushing against the entire field, it concentrated its energy on a single point. "It's adapting," shouted Dr. Kim over the communications network. "It's learning." The shield began to fail at the point of concentration. Captain Okonkwo made a split-second decision. Defiance moving to reinforce the breach, deploying experimental phase inverter. Her ship dived directly toward the weakening section of the shield, launching a new device that emitted a countering energy pattern. As the Defiance approached the dimensional boundary, its hull groaned under the stress. "Phase inverter active," reported her engineer. "But we're too close to the distortion. Structural integrity failing, just as it seemed the Defiance would be torn apart." A Viraxian battleship moved into position alongside it, adding its power to maintain the shield. "Human vessel," came the voice of Subcommander Vex. "Your sacrifice will not be in vain." Together, the human and Viraxian ships held the line until the phase inverter fully activated. The Convergence's attack wavered, then suddenly collapsed. Once again, it retreated. As damage control teams rushed to repair the Defiance, the Viraxian ship maintained position alongside, providing protection. When communications were restored, Sub-Commander Vex's face appeared on Captain Okonkwo's screen. "Your actions saved our homeworld," he acknowledged, his usual contempt replaced with grudging respect. "The Viraxian people will not forget this." The moment was captured by communication, systems and broadcast across council space. A Viraxian leader thanking a human commander. The political implications were enormous. Back at the Joint Command Center, human scientists made a disturbing discovery as they analyzed the Convergence's attack patterns. "These aren't random," Dr. Kim told General Santos privately. "The attacks, the timing, the adaptation to our defenses, it's all too deliberate." "What are you suggesting?" Santos asked. "The void convergence isn't a natural phenomenon," he said, lowering his voice. "Someone or something created it, and I believe it was specifically directed toward council space." "Why? To what end?" "Doctor?" Kim looked troubled. "I don't know yet, but I'm starting to think there's a reason it appeared so soon after humanity left the council. Someone wanted to force us back together." Santos frowned. "Keep investigating. But keep this theory quiet for now. If you're right, we're not just fighting a dimensional anomaly. We're being manipulated by something even more powerful." Outside, the command center window, human and council ships docked side by side. Former adversaries, now reluctant allies against a threat that might be larger than any of them yet understood. The final confrontation with the void convergence took place at Tau Ceti, a star system on the border between council and human space. For weeks, scientists had tracked the convergence's movements and determined it would appear there next. This time, they were ready. A massive fleet assembled, over 300 ships from both the Human Alliance and the Council. At the center of their formation were 12 vessels equipped with advanced dimensional anchors, and the new phase inverters developed by Dr. Kim. Captain Layla Okonkwo commanded the HMS Defiance, fully repaired and upgraded. Beside her ship flew the Viraxian battlecruiser commanded by Subcommander Vex now promoted after his actions in the previous battle. All ships report ready, announced Okonkwo's communications officer. General Santos and Admiral Kraz coordinated the operation from the command vessel. For the first time, human and council military leaders worked together as true equals, each respecting the other's strengths. Convergence detected, reported the sensor officer. Dimensional distortion forming. All ships, maintain position, ordered Admiral Kraz. Anchor vessels, prepare to activate on my mark. The now familiar distortion of space appeared before them, larger than ever before. The void convergence had grown stronger with each encounter, as if gathering energy from the worlds it consumed. Anchor network activating, General Santos announced. Unlike previous battles, this time they weren't just trying to repel the convergence. Dr. Kim had developed a new strategy. Phase inverters ready, reported Captain Okonkwo. Dimensional trap is set. The trap was built on a daring theory, that the convergence could be temporarily contained long enough to study it, perhaps even communicate with it. As the convergence pushed against the anchor network, the fleet maintained their positions, channeling the entity into the center of their formation where the trap awaited. Now, ordered General Santos. All 12 phase inverters activated simultaneously, creating not a shield but a cage of dimensional energy. The convergence found itself trapped in a stable pocket of space-time. Containment holding, reported Dr. Kim from his research vessel. Beginning analysis. For several tense minutes, readings poured in as instruments studied the trapped entity. Then something unexpected happened. We're detecting a pattern in the gravitational waves, Dr. Kim announced, his voice filled with excitement. It's a form of communication. The convergence was trying to communicate through gravitational pulses, a language of physics rather than sound or light. Can we respond? Asked General Santos. Yes, by modulating our anchor fields, Dr. Kim replied. We can essentially talk to it. What followed was the strangest first contact in galactic history, a conversation through the fabric of space-time itself. Dr. Kim's team worked frantically to interpret the patterns and respond appropriately. After hours of exchange, Dr. Kim requested an emergency meeting with the fleet commanders. It's not one entity, he explained to the assembled leaders. The void convergence is a test, a sophisticated probe created by the precursors. Everyone in the room fell silent. The precursors were the legendary species believed to have seeded the galaxy with life before vanishing billions of years ago. According to the patterns we've decoded, the precursors didn't die out, Dr. Kim continued. They evolved beyond our dimensional reality, but they left behind tests to evaluate their creations. Tests that destroy entire worlds? Admiral Kraz asked incredulously. The worlds aren't destroyed, Dr. Kim clarified. They're temporarily phased into another dimension, a process that can be reversed. But yes, the test is dangerous by design. It's meant to push us to our limits. General Santos frowned. What exactly is it testing? Cooperation, Dr. Kim said simply. The convergence was programmed to appear shortly after humanity left the Council. It was triggered by our separation because the precursors designed the galactic community to work together. He displayed the data they had gathered. The evidence is clear. The elder species like the Varaxians and Thelicoids were engineered for stability, wisdom, and caution. Younger species like humans were designed for innovation, adaptation, and creativity. Together we create a balance the precursors considered essential for long-term survival. The implications were enormous. The galaxy's species hadn't evolved randomly. They had been carefully designed to complement each other. 1 week later, a historic summit convened in the council chambers. The void convergence had retreated after receiving specific responses from the combined fleet, essentially passing them on a cosmic test. As promised, the worlds that had been taken were now returning to normal space, their populations unharmed, but with no memory of their dimensional displacement. Arbiter Zex Kaltha stood before a chamber filled with representatives from all species, council members and human delegates alike. Today marks a new chapter in our shared history. he began solemnly. The evidence presented by the human scientists is irrefutable. The precursors designed us, all of us, to work together. Our differences are not obstacles, but essential components of a greater whole. For the first time in Council history, the Arbiter formally acknowledged the systematic marginalization that had occurred. Our fear of change nearly doomed us all, he admitted. The elder species, including my own, allowed our caution to become stagnation. We viewed the dynamism of younger species as chaotic rather than vital. The precursors designed a galactic community of diversity, not uniformity. Elena Chen, now president of the Human Alliance, approached the central platform. Together with the Arbiter, she signed a new concordat establishing mutual respect and collaboration between the Alliance and the Council. We didn't leave to watch you fail, President Chen addressed the Assembly. We left because we needed you to see our value. Sometimes family needs distance to appreciate each other. The new agreement maintained human independence while creating systems for cooperation in research, defense, and crisis response. Most importantly, it reformed the Council's voting procedures to ensure that newer species would have their innovations properly considered rather than dismissed. As the ceremony concluded, urgent reports arrived from deep space monitoring stations. Unusual signals had been detected from far beyond known space, possibly more tests or perhaps the precursors themselves making contact. The news rippled through the Assembly. Once such a discovery would have led to arguments about jurisdiction and protocol. Now representatives immediately began discussing joint exploration missions. Later that evening, President Chen met privately with leaders of other, younger species who had also faced marginalization within the Council. The old order has changed, she told them, but we must ensure it never reverts. Our departure forced the Council to recognize our value. Now we must build something better together. Outside the window, ships from dozens of species moved in. Careful coordination, some departing for home, others preparing for new missions. Human vessels flew alongside Council ships as equals, different in design and philosophy, but sharing the same stars. What do you think the precursors will do next? Asked the representative from a newly discovered species on the galaxy's edge. President Chen smiled. I don't know. But whatever challenges come, we'll face them the way we were designed to. Together, each contributing our unique strengths. The galaxy had nearly fallen apart when humanity left the Council. Now from that near disaster, something stronger was emerging. A true community of diverse species, finally understanding that their differences were not weaknesses but essential strengths in a universe of endless challenges. The lesson had been painful, but in the end, worth every difficult step of the journey.